Well, here we go, the autumn statement. Let's just dig into the numbers, starting with perhaps the big one, in a way the most important, the state of the economy, gross domestic product. Here's what was happening to it back in March 2020. So before the pandemic, it was going up, up, up. Then, of course, came the pandemic. See if you can spot it. There it is. And that was earlier on this year. But things, of course, have changed since then. The economy has got weaker. The Bank of England, only a few weeks ago, thought that we were basically going to be flatlining. We were in recession, then flatlining. Here's what the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, thinks. Have a look at that line. It's actually, yes, we're in recession, but a little bit more optimistic, quite a bit more optimistic than the Bank of England. There's a bit of bad news here at the same time, which is, have a look at that. The gap between where we would have been had there been no pandemic, had things carried on growing, is pretty big. And that means we're all less well off. And another way that's manifested is looking at our household disposable income, the amount of money that really goes into our pockets. For the most part, over the last kind of half century or so, back to the 1950s, it was going up. Each year we were getting better off. But last time around, back in March, the OBR said we were heading for the worst year for this in modern history. Well, here's the bad news. Now they've updated those numbers, and have a look on the right-hand side. Here's the new numbers. Even worse. In fact, it's two of the worst years, the two worst years in modern history for household disposable income. Utterly miserable stuff, I'm afraid. Here's what the head of the OBR had to say about it.
It wipes out basically 8 years of improvement that we've seen in living standards here in the UK. It means that for a period, inflation is outstripping wages sort of 2 to 1. And people also can also see it in their energy bills.
So that's the economic story. But what about the fiscal side? So basically what the government is doing? Well, the big picture is about £55 billion worth of contraction, so the opposite of stimulus. But that only tells you part of the story because it's been such a rollercoaster ride. And let me give you a sense by looking at one particular year of the forecast horizon, 2024-25. Anything above the line shows money going out of the Treasury into our pockets. Anything below the line as well, the opposite. And you can see it used to be negative back in May. Then it got slightly more positive, money going out because of the energy price guarantee. Then it looked like we were all going to be doing a lot better because of the mini-budget, all those tax cuts. And then came the autumn statement, where we are now, and we're back to almost where we started. So it's been this yo-yo effect, and that's where we are right now. Final thing to look at is, of course, this. Taxes as a share of GDP, the tax burden, some people call it. Now, this was heading up back in March, was heading up to one of the highest levels since the 1940s. Liz Truss didn't like that, of course, very anti-higher taxes. But now Jeremy Hunt has got it going even higher, to the highest level that we've seen in post-war history. Look at that line. And that is something, in a sense, that he's leaning into. He's quite proud to have higher taxes for the time being because it's repairing the mess, he says, in the public finances. The one chart, happily, I don't have to show you, is market reaction, because so far that has been pretty subdued, which is something they will be grateful about.